Nioh is the most recent title in the slowly growing Massacre categorized games. This is because Massacre games tend to be very difficult but have a very rewarding action gameplay. In this regard, Team Ninja has made a truly enjoyable experience for fans of this category of video games. However, there are a few flaws that the title Team Ninja should address if they ever plan to make a sequel for Nioh or dip their hands into this genre of video games again. The combat of Nioh is the best part of this large machine that kept me coming back to get slaughtered again and again. Starting with the weapons, the game has 5 classes of melee weapons, each with their own unique skill, sets, combos, and advantages. You'll be able to use katanas, dual katanas, axes, spears, and kusarigamos. Each weapon has their own positives and negatives when it comes to damage, range, or speed. However, the game has introduced the concept of 3 separate stances to choose from: high, mid, and low. High stance attacks will cause more damage but are slow. Low stance attacks are fast but do not cause much damage. And mid stance attacks are somewhere in the middle. You will get to use ranged weapons as well, such as bows, muskets, and hand cannons. Each melee weapon has their own skill tree to unlock new combos and stat improvements. You will also have access to a ninjutsu skill tree and an omayo skill tree. The ninjutsu skill tree will get you access to items such as shurikens and poison that can be applied to weapons, thus you can poison your enemies. And the onmayo skill tree will allow you to use magic spells on your enemies, such as fireballs. Speaking of magic, you also have a guardian spirit that follows you throughout your journey. You can also change which guardian spirit you want from a shrine. Each has different stat effects as well as element buffs. During missions, you will have a spirit meter that fills as you defeat enemies and collect Amrita, which is used for experience points. Once the meter is full, you can unleash the guardian spirit into your current melee weapon and turn it into a living weapon. Also, if you die, your guardian spirit will wait for you at the spot you died and protect any Amrita you had when you died. But beware, because if you die a second time before retrieving your guardian, you will lose all of that Amrita. When in combat, the most vital stat to keep an eye on besides your health meter is the ki meter. This is your character's stamina. If your ki is too low, it will leave you exposed for a devastating attack that can instantly kill you. However, this is also true for your enemies. In fact, when you are locked onto an enemy, it will show both their health and ki. This leads to combat scenarios where you can lower your opponent's ki and then unleash a powerful attack on them. The missions for Nioh are separated by an overworld map that the player can choose the main story quests from or side quests. The levels of the main missions are always fun to play through. The best part of any level is finding the shortcuts. These shortcuts are used to help player avoid enemies and link together shrines, which are technically checkpoints. Unfortunately, while the main mission levels are diverse, many of the side missions take place in similar areas. This is not the only issue with these levels either. While the level layout is great, they are lacking in the art department. They reach the bare minimum for giving the player an idea of where they are, such as at a fishing village or a bandit cave, but they feel empty. I was never interested in the actual setting as they felt lifeless and had no real personality. They never told a story, probably because of how Ninja Theory decided to tell this narrative. Nioh uses cutscenes to tell its stories. I have no issue with cutscenes being used to tell a story, but one of my favorite elements from popular Massacre games is how indirect they are with their storytelling. Many of these games can tell their stories using the level design to build a world that I want to explore and discover more about. Now, in Nioh's defense, I was actually intrigued with the world and the people around it. That is because Nioh actually uses historical figures in its story. In fact, the character you play as was an actual person from that time period the game takes place in. Unfortunately, the characters in this game are not nearly as interesting as their real-life counterparts. Also, the real-life William never actually fought demons. It's an unfortunate stumble in an otherwise well-made package. Nioh hits a few stumbles along the way, but I believe the overall package is worth it. The combat kept me on my feet and let me experiment with a large arsenal of weapons. 40 hours in, and I finally started to use spears, and I cannot stop using them. Team Ninja should be proud of their final project and should definitely be looking into making more Nioh games or similar titles in the future. But hopefully it won't take them 13 years to make the next one.